Traders, still getting over this pneumonia that I have. Lungs are still a little crazy, so my voice is off. But I wanted to do this video because I wanted to go over a couple of things with you guys. Um, First thing really is to demonstrate that price behavior really should be the determining factor whether or not you get into a trade. And I can't stress this enough. A lot of people want to arbitrarily place their buy limits and sell limits in these areas. And in of itself, harmonic trading can be about a 70 to 80% depending on how you do it. But if you pay attention to price behavior in the areas, then you can up that percentage to quite significantly, as many of you have can attest to from the posts and the threads on the trades that I've taken over the years. But I wanted to go over this trade here in particular because this demonstrates exactly what I'm speaking about. We got into this trade. We originally had our buy zone in this area. If we measure the X to A here, again, we're looking at a bat pattern. We got a 50% retrace, and so we're looking for price to come down into an 886, and we see that it just slightly comes down into there. It doesn't quite get that exact 886 or the line that we had. If we go back to that weekly chart, you remember we saw the structure at that line right here, but it did come into an area between the 786 and the 886, and if we look at that a little bit more carefully, we could see why. We could see that demand would come into that area. So let's go ahead and we'll mark it with a box here, and you can see the structure. And just below the 786 here, but you can see all this structure where price comes into this area and gets some buying. It dips down below, but it gaps right back up and comes back up, and we could see it happening right in here as well. You can see the structure happens here, and you can see a little bit of structure here, and there's a little cluster in here, and it gets back above. So our buy zone really could be adjusted once we started seeing this price behavior. We almost made it to the 886, but you know what? Sometimes you don't always. Maybe some platforms were able to get to the 886. I don't know. This one didn't quite get it, but we were close enough where it was time to pay attention to what's going on with behavior. So one of the first things I wanted to illustrate was if we take this RSI tool again, and again, this isn't something I use all the time, but it can be a tool that can be helpful. And you can see we got a nice little inverted head and shoulder here, left head, right, on the RSI, right in an area of an oversold condition. And if we look at price, we can see what price is doing right in here. And if we scroll down to a lower time frame, say the 4-hour, we could see it clearly as well here. We could see also, if I take this, you could see we get some pretty good divergence right in here where we came into this area, got some buying, and then they came quickly, sold off, and took the stops. Remember, we talked about this. People get involved in here, and they get excited. They get that euphoria, and they come and they take out their stops. They put our stops at break even or whatever it is. But if you're patient and you have discipline, you can wait for these entries, these opportunities, for price to show you that, you know what, we're looking to reverse, or we're looking to come out of this zone or this area. And you can see we get a nice little reversal here as well. We continue going up with the RSI, and you'll also notice this is another price behavior I like to look for. I've illustrated this before on other charts. You got a nice little trend line coming down when you start getting this behavior, and you can see price come in. We'll go down to a 1 hour, and we can see it even clearer, even nicer. It comes up to this area, comes down, comes back up, comes down, makes a lower low, and then we start coming into here again. And you can see it. It's battling this area. It comes down, makes a higher low, comes right back up to this trend line, and we kind of ride it with price for a little while until we kind of break above it. But nothing significant. There's nothing here yet that's saying, okay, you can see there's some selling coming in. Can't quite get, and then we come right back down to that trend line, and we're able to test that trend line and come right out of it. We're able to enter our trade, and then you can see we ride up to target 1. Right away. And of course, you can look left and you can see why there would be some selling coming into this area. You can see the structure here, and selling comes into this area, and we come right back down into our zone, and where we start to get some buying demand coming in again, and we come out of there, come right back down, and we'll see where we're going to go from there. But this price behavior is what gets us into the trade. We start to see this develop, in zones and supply zones or support areas, and we're looking to take advantage of that. Not so much the fact that its prices come into the zone. We want price to come into the zone here, but we want to see behavior that says, okay, this is going to be a higher probability trade than just putting a buy limit there arbitrarily and arbitrarily putting a stop here or arbitrarily moving it to break even because we got some pips. We want to see price develop. We want to have the patience. You can see it takes some time. It takes some time to develop. It just doesn't happen in an instant. So if we're patient and we're disciplined, we're waiting for that price behavior, that can increase our odds of having success on the trade. So where might we go? Well, we got a couple things here we can measure. Um, if we take, this is a 1 hour chart right here, we take this swing high to this swing low. You can see we've come up to a 618. We could come into a 786 for a Gartley. Excuse me. Um, so that's something you can see we got some selling in this area before. This is our target 2 area we're looking for, and you can see that there was some sell demand that came in once we got up here. So we'll see what happens there. If we also zoom in a little bit more, we could see some development right here. I'll just move this over. We could take this swing high, and we could take this swing low right here. And you can see we come to a 618 again, where we got the last selling. Some supply in this area. We have some right in here too. You can see the structure. See all that structure? We're coming right up to this area. Okay, so we'll want to pay attention to that. But you could see, and this is a smaller time frame as well, but you could see we come up to this area and we have a little pattern here. First of all, you can have this 786 and you have a nice little Gartley right here. I could draw it in for you. You got X to A to B, and then you have B to C, C to D right into this area. And you can put a little somewhere in that zone. You can see 786. The other thing you got is you got a potential AB equals CD pattern that's developing here. You can see that goes right in nicely to the first target again into the area of previous selling. So we'll see how that develops. Something, you know, if you weren't involved in this trade to go long, could give you opportunities to go short for a few pips on a lower time frame. That's really up to you and your decision. And who knows, I'll look at price behavior and maybe I'll flip that trade. We'll see what happens with that. We also have something that's developing potentially to the downside if price does in fact continue to see some supply in this area. You could see we have, we'll just flip this around here. And we have an X to A to B. So with this swing high, the swing low to the swing high, we see we come down into a 618, and then we get a 786 back into this zone. May give us an opportunity to get long again once we come into this zone. And the other thing too is this is not invalidated. This 886 area right here is not invalidated. So we could still come up into this area, come down, and we'll look for price behavior to get involved in here. Again, we want to have patience and discipline. You just don't want to arbitrarily, well, I don't recommend it, but everybody needs to trade their own plan. But I don't usually arbitrarily put a buy limit in. I'd like to see price behavior to confirm what's going on. So I wanted to kind of go over that and show you guys, you know, in my opinion, over the years of my trading experience and my research and development program, I always see that price behavior really is king. It's king over harmonics and everything else. Harmonics are a good tool to tell you or to show you or demonstrate areas which you can expect price to potentially reverse and go in the different direction. It is by nature a counter trend trading strategy, unless of course you can get into continuations. You can find the patterns that allow you to get into a continuation to the downside or to the upside depending where the trend is going. So I hope this helps. This is really designed to show you that price behavior really should determine whether or not you get involved in a trade more so than the actual buy and sell zone. I like to see the price behavior kind of confirms that. Does that mean sometimes you miss a trade? Yeah, sometimes you do. But I like the probabilities better when I have that confirming piece that allows me to determine whether or not I want to get involved. So, hope you enjoyed. Have fun. Trade your plan. Make a great day. Do your own due diligence. And may we all make bank, game changing bank, the kind of bank that makes you just think and grow.